Today, we are diving into one of the most audacious claims in all of philosophy, a claim that you can boil down to just 3 words: footnotes to Plato.
So, what on earth does that mean? Well, this quote comes from the philosopher Alfred Whitehead, and he said it back in 1929. And think about it. His claim is pretty mind-blowing that for almost 2,500 years, every major thinker in the Western world has basically been, well, just writing in Plato's margins. But wait a minute, that can't be right, can it? I mean, was everyone just copying him? No way. In fact, some of history's greatest philosophers spent their entire lives arguing against Plato. So what was Whitehead really trying to say?
He was getting at something way more profound than just simple agreement. See, it wasn't about blindly following what Plato said. It was about the fact that you couldn't get away from him.
And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. Plato's real, lasting legacy isn't built on his answers, a lot of which, let's be honest, are still pretty controversial today. Nope, it's built on his questions. He basically set the stage for the entire debate. All right, so let's actually look at some of these questions, because these are not just dusty old historical artifacts. They are living, breathing problems that we are still grappling with every single day. Okay, take the Euthyphro dilemma. It's a classic. It asks, is a thing good just because God says so? Or does God tell us to do it because it's already good on its own? This one question sparked thousands of years of debate about where morality even comes from.
Or what about this legendary challenge from his teacher Socrates? Is the unexamined life really not worth living? It's a question that makes you stop and think about the whole point of your existence. Is a life without trying to find wisdom even a life well lived? It just cuts right to the heart of being human.
And then there's this one from the Credo. Socrates is about to be executed, and he could easily escape, but he won't. Why? He argues he has to obey the law, even if it's being used unjustly against him. Fast forward 2,000 years, and you've got leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. wrestling with that exact same problem. See, Plato's questions just echo on and on.
But here's the thing. Plato didn't just throw out questions and walk away. Oh no. He came up with some seriously bold, world-changing answers. And he even built a place dedicated to figuring them out.
Back in 387 BC, Plato started a school. He called it the Academy. And it stayed open for, get this, 900 years. 900 years. That's the longest-running university in the entire ancient world. Its whole mission was to teach people how to see beyond the surface of things, to find these bigger, universal truths.
And you know who the Academy's star student was? Aristotle. And he is the perfect example of Whitehead's whole point. He studied with Plato for 20 years. He was his best student, for sure, but he was also his sharpest critic. It just goes to show you couldn't just ignore Plato. You had to respond to him.
This slide is great because it just nails their fundamental disagreement. You've probably seen it in that famous painting, The School of Athens. Plato is pointing up, right? He's pointing to this perfect, abstract world of ideal forms. But Aristotle, he's got his hand out, palm down, gesturing to the physical world all around us. He's saying, no, this is what's real. And Aristotle himself really said it best. You can feel the deep respect in this quote, right? But you can also feel that intellectual fire, that courage to say, I respect you, but I have to follow the truth where it leads. Being a footnote to Plato could mean spending your whole life trying to prove him wrong. And these were the ideas that everyone had to wrestle with. The theory of forms, the idea that our soul is immortal, the radical proposal that philosophers should be kings, or that weird idea that learning is really just remembering stuff your soul already knew. Whether you loved these ideas or hated them, you had to have an opinion. Plato set the agenda for the next 2,000 years. And that conversation did not stop with Aristotle, not even close. Plato's ideas kept morphing, evolving, and being reborn centuries, even millennia later. Let's jump ahead about 600 years after Plato died. There's this philosopher in Roman Egypt, his name is Plotinus, and he takes Plato's core concepts and totally re-engineers them into this huge mystical system we now call Neoplatonism. And that system would go on to shape Christian, Jewish, and Islamic thought for 1,000 years. So here's his basic system. For Plotinus, everything, all of reality, just flows out of this one, perfect, simple source he called the One. And from the One comes the divine mind, or nous, and that's where Plato's forms live. Then, From the mind comes the world soul, which gives life to everything. And then, way down at the bottom, there's us, in the material world. The whole point of philosophy for him was to climb back up that ladder, back to the one.
Which brings us right back to Whitehead's quote. See, being a footnote to Plato isn't about agreeing with him. It means you're playing in the stadium that he built. His legacy isn't a list of answers you have to memorize. It's the entire arena for the debate itself. He didn't just add to the conversation, he started it.
So really, when you ask questions about what's just, what's real, what's true, or how to live a good life, you are, whether you know it or not, joining a conversation that started in a little garden outside of ancient Athens. Plato might have asked the questions first, but the conversation belongs to all of us now. So the only real question left is, which part of it are you going to join?